Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Talking Point. My name is Sean Michael Small on WESN, your content capital. Hopefully, I'll soon be joined by my co-host, Mr. Keaton Shah, via Zoom. Until then, well, I wish I could say it's a beautiful day, but literally and figuratively, it's a comfortable day for me, although the cool, overcast morning is not really making my spirits feel any better. The Commission of Inquiry continues. Claims and counterclaims are being made, accusations are being thrown out on both sides. When Keaton comes in, we're going to obviously discuss the situation at Paria. I think, though, before that, I would just like to say we need to understand, because I did say yesterday, and I think even before, to me there are two issues. What caused the accident, and therefore who's responsible? How many different people are responsible? Do they share blame? Who has the most? All of those details aside, what caused it? And then, why was there no rescue? Those are the two issues. Because we didn't get enough information as the public for the situation, in my opinion, to be acceptable on the latter point, the rescue. Why it seemed as though no attempt was made, except from one private individual. On the former, I mean, that does matter, not just for financial liability, but ultimate responsibility for the accident itself. And we need to understand that claims are being made. I have heard somebody with an opinion different to mine. I spoke to them yesterday via text. But at the end of the day, we need to find out the truth if we are going to prevent what happened from happening. And we need to give ourselves the room to both feel sympathy for the deceased, and I still believe, always believe that no matter what I say, I still believe those men did not have to die. Especially Mr. Faisal Kurban, assuming that the account by Mr. Boudram is accurate enough. He's under stressful conditions. Maybe Mr. Kurban was a few tens of feet further down the pipe. Maybe he would have been out of reach. But generally speaking, it is very possible he was within reach. More importantly, the other three men. Was the accident preventable? Was a rescue possible? These are things that, on a technical level, there are different perspectives. I still believe that an attempt could have been tried. They would have had, it wasn't a case where if you don't get to them in 10 minutes, then it doesn't matter. But we have to give ourselves room to have sympathy for the deceased, for the lone survivor, to appreciate what he went through. But truth is truth, no matter where it leads, no matter how inconvenient it is. And everything has to be scrutinized, if only so that everything could be cleared. Well, not everything, but certain things could be cleared. Anyway, before I get any further into this, my co-host has been waiting for the last minute or so. Mr. Keaton Shah is joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Keaton. How is the weather on your end? Is it as ironically comfortable yet gloomy as it is here in Port of Spain?
Well, good morning, Sean, and good morning to all our viewers. It's good to see you. I know that you've been following the Commission of Inquiry, especially Christopher Boudram, the lone survivor of that fatal February 25th accident. You've been following his testimony before the Commission of Inquiry, and I know it has had an effect on you, as it has with all those who have been following it. As for the weather, it is dark and gloomy. When I woke up this morning and I was able to look outside, I to me, it felt like England in that period between summer and autumn. So it was rather interesting this morning. But the adverse weather alert is still in effect until tonight. And with that, Sean, the reports of flooding throughout Trinidad and Tobago, and more so, there have been some major, I suppose, structural damage, especially when you take into account, I think Mr. Andy Johnson would have covered that on his show this morning, one road in Siparia which collapsed. And according to the information that I was received, it seems as though for some time now, structurally, that has been neglected. And so I think throughout the course of the remainder of the rainy season, I suppose you're going to see more of that happening. So all around, it's not, I suppose it's not good news as such, but, I hope one day when I wake up, I receive good news. People often say the mere fact that you're alive and you can say that you're alive and you can see another day, that's good news. And yes, I'm grateful for that blessing. But, it's difficult to say that you're living when you're just truly surviving.
Well, and therein lies the, I guess you could say, existential irony of the situation, or the dichotomy of the fact that it makes my life, when you realize, first of all, we went through the COVID deaths, and then most recently we were debating the murder rate. And these are all human lives here. When put those two things together, and we're looking at potentially 8,000 lives lost within the last 2 years, right? Or just under, because the murder rate last year, I can't remember what it was. Was it 500? I can't remember exactly. But now we have this situation where these 4 men passed away, and to some extent it seems so unnecessary. We have survived. We are still alive. We survived COVID. We have we've thankfully not been victims of violent crime. And it's how excessive it's been. We're not in industrial accidents. And I guess yesterday I didn't realize what I was feeling, but now looking back at it is a sense of, well, really and truly, who cares outside of our immediate friends and family? Do we really care for each other? Because there've been, from what I've been told, there've been other accidents before, and nothing seemed to have come from it. Obviously, how high does the murder rate have to go before we get concerned? And at some point, once we hit about 2,000 or even 1,000 COVID deaths, it seemed as though people were less and less concerned about COVID. It's just like, it is what it is. And we've allowed our rules and regulations and norms and cultural practices and societal norms and our legislature and our authorities to kind of just, well, once we just get by, it didn't happen to me, it happened to them, and them is somebody on the other side of a TV screen, so I'm okay. I don't know if I like this side of TNT.
But you see, the thing about it, Sean, is that you've asked a very important question there, and one that is truly relevant to how we're living now. Do we care about one another? Do we truly want the best for one another? Do we really seek each other's best interest? And the thing is, you're saying that you don't like this side of Trinidad and Tobago, but quite frankly, this side of Trinidad and Tobago always existed, whether it would have been in a minority to the extent that it might have been new to us. It always was there. And it was, at least my opinion, that over the course of the COVID-19 pandemic, when people had to stay home and actually live with one another for the very first time, even though that they were in a relationship for many years, whatever that relationship may be it family, be it married, whatever it may be. And then when you take a look at coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, I think society, to a certain extent, has become more selfish. Now, whether or not you want to take a look at it from a societal perspective, or you want to take a look at it from a government perspective, or you want to take a look at it, whatever social structure, social entity, or social theory you want to take a look at it from, or examine it from, society certainly has become more selfish. We've also become a bit more ignorant. And that ignorance and that selfishness has led to a certain level of arrogance where we don't have the patience and understanding to deal with each other anymore. And as sad as the reality may be, that's just precisely what it is. It is reality. It is disheartening. It is depressing, I must admit. And even having to talk about the fact that we don't like living in this, I suppose, this toxic bubble. Is that the most accurate way to describe it? Because to me, it feels like a toxic bubble. Last week, Monday, we spoke to our acting ASP TTPS Media Master, Ashraf Ali, about this. The mere fact that neighbors can't get along, that we can't live with one another, the mere fact that we can't respect each other, we can't live in peace and harmony. It's always been there, but it's become more prominent more than ever now. And I keep saying that a major part of TNT's problems are the mindset and thinking of citizens. We all have mutual, I suppose, wants, which is, for example, a better health, and that ties into better economy, better standard of living, hopefully reduce crime where you feel comfortable and you live safe. But when you couple all that, Sean, together and you think about it, to a certain extent, that's also what has led people to be a bit more selfish, because people are now only concerned with themselves, only concerned about their lives, only concerned about their well-being. And neglect will equal to neglect. As much as we say, you don't have to be that way, you don't have to be that person, it's very difficult. And so I suppose it's, as you quite frankly say, it's a catch 42, catch 22. So yeah,
I've seen it before where in different mediums, when the environment is basically set up that accountability, ethics is not the culture of the day, eventually taking advantage of people, because not just because I don't want to be taken advantage of, but sometimes because I have been taken advantage of, because somebody took advantage of me and saw to their own needs selfishly. So I learned that lesson, and now I'm going to apply that. I'm paying the wrong thing forward. I'm paying the selfishness forward, right? And then others, of course, who are lucky to not have to experience that, but they will see, hey, this is the reality, right? So I will grease wheels if I have to grease wheels. I will say nothing if I could say nothing. I don't want to be exposed. And at the end, one of the things about this Commission of Inquiry, right, I don't want to go into too much details because I don't want to unintentionally get somebody singled out when they don't want to be. But the irony is, and we've seen this before with other situations, whether it's political, especially to do with crime, specific cases, controversial subjects, whatever. Nobody wants to speak out. Nobody necessarily wants to speak out. Yes, okay, the opposition will speak out, and you kind of expect them to speak out. Half the time, they are no better informed than the general public. The other half of the time, they could only say so much with regards to the evidence that they have, because at the end of the day, whoever is the government of the day controls a lot of the documentation and flow of information officially. And we have a culture where a lack of transparency will seemingly be overlooked by the public. We don't hold the government accountable for that. We don't necessarily hold anybody accountable for the claims they make, so anybody from the opposition to any of the other smaller parties could just say whatever they want to say. And with regards to whistleblower protection, we might have legislation, but I think on a practical level that doesn't exist. Also, coming out of this commission inquiry, I think we need to ask ourselves, really and truly, is OSHA even an effective entity, effective legislation? with regards to the situation, the health and safety officer on the scene. I've been told that he doesn't know anything about diving. And I'm like, okay, that really and truly doesn't matter. However you work it out, I don't care. But he's supposed to be involved, whether he has a diver, a diving expert to advise him, or he has the credentials himself. I would like to think that he is an active participant in making sure that situations or events or jobs are conducted in as safe a manner as reasonably possible. So,
Sean, you hit on multiple topics there. I mean, I heard you speak about OSHA. I heard you speak about whistleblower legislation. You spoke about the opposition. The opposition.
Well, that's the least important part.
No. But the thing is, listen. Let's be honest with each other. Let's be realistic. The opposition, they're intelligent. The government, they're intelligent. They're so intelligent, they know how to outsmart each other. All right, and that's the thing. They know how to outsmart themselves at times, and that's what we see. The opposition, Sean, as well as the government, will only say what they want to say, or only will say or reveal what they think will grasp their voting population, or what will grasp their attention, and what will resonate within them. But to basically everything that you said, you mentioned ethics, morality and ethics. Morality and ethics has essentially boiled down, Sean, to one thing in TNT now. Whatever is concerned with me and my interest, or whatever is convenient to me or for me, in whatever way, that is what it's boiled down to. That's morality and ethics now in Trinidad and Tobago. Essentially, it does not exist unless it is beneficial solely to me. And question yourself, is that morality and ethics in itself?
I mean, we have to take a break, but I will just say this. When you started off your last paragraph or so, something you said just triggered a thought in me. The opposition, government, parliamentarians, the opposition and the government, political parties, they're playing a different game. We think they're playing the game of government versus opposition, opposition versus government. But they're not. They're playing the game of political party versus political party. And the distinction matters. Because the distinction is, it's not about who could deal with the country's problems better and who could see to the issues better and who is better. And you one up the other side by being better. No, the game is who could look better and be perceived better and who could win the bubble fight and who could get away with the most. And because of that, I think we take it for granted that they're not really competing in the manner, in the competition we think they're competing, and that is for us. A lot of the time, they might not even realize it. Because the situation, again, I will always say, they act based on how our feedback, how we approve or disapprove. So to some extent, it's up to us. They are just responding to what we tell them, verbally, non-verbally, indirectly or directly, what we want. Sometimes maybe they misinterpret it. Sometimes it goes too far. Sometimes we like it so they give it to us. So anyway, we have to take a break. There are a couple of things about the Paria case where I think I just want to get your opinion on. We'll get into that right after the break. And then, of course, our colleagues bid to have an injunction to hold off on the internal election. Well, she lost that bid, or her slate lost the bid. So we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. Stay tuned. This is Talking Point. Show Michael Small, Mr. Keaton Shah. We'll be right back. Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel.
Set. Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
Make every occasion a sparkling celebration with Rosabella alcohol-free wine.
Toast cheers with hourglass rays. Rosabella, live life with Rosabella sparkling drink. Celebrate!
Fan Zone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Whether it's a room for 1, 2, 3 or more, there's a room waiting with the ocean view almost to your door. Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, the perfect getaway when you don't want to travel far. The Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, Crown Point, Tobago. Call 639-8571 for your reservation.
Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. PCU. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit?
Yes.
What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive, it is not rehabilitative.
We, the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, it's for all of us in public.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sport?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing now, Andre.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Welcome back to Talking Point. Well, the situation in Paria, claims on counterclaims, 2 days ago, I believe, not yesterday, but the day before, yes. There have been contention with regards to the testimony. We did not get into that specifically yesterday. Yesterday I was more concerned, and I'm still concerned, even after speaking to somebody with a bit more knowledge of the situation, although I cannot technically verify what he says to be true, but I'm taking what he says at face value. Even if I assume so, I'm still not satisfied with regards to the lack of rescue situation. And as well as the fact that there is a debate with regards to, well, was the plug supposed to be removed? And if that was the cause of the accident. And I think it goes now into a further situation, Keaton, where I did hear somebody on a different program, just before I left home, basically berating the questioners, the lawyers at the commission. Why are they questioning Mr. Boudram for? They should leave him alone. He's been through too much. And I understand where the caller was coming from. And I feel for Mr. Boudram, and I, in a perfect world, he would not have to go through any sort of disrespect or any sort of hostile interaction. And I will leave it up to practicing lawyers to say, you know, how hard could you go with regards to questioning a witness in a situation like this. I would hope that there would be some sort of, you know, have it within yourself to be respectful, even though you have to be stern. Figure that out. The unfortunate thing, Keaton, though, is at the end of the day, what is the truth is the truth, and we need to find out the truth if we want to prevent this. And Mr. Boudram needs to be questioned, you know, even if the questions are unpleasant. Once again, they're respectful, because we need to find out, maybe he clears himself and his compatriots. Maybe there's something there that they did wrong. Maybe it was, we find out something that leads us to realize it was equipment failure. We don't know. So it has to happen whether we like it or not, because the outcome is so bad. But part of the reason why you have this is not just for the victims of this tragedy, it's to prevent future victims, which is, I'm not entirely sure. My fears for future victims might actually be even greater than my grief for the victims here.
Well, that's a profound statement. My fears for future victims. I hope there are no future victims.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly hope there aren't. And precisely this is why a commission of inquiry now is important, to hopefully set a standard which seems to not have existed previously, to prevent such tragedies from occurring in the future. Now, before I comment, I just need to make it absolutely clear so there is an understanding. I'm expressing my opinion based off of what we've heard so far, and based off of what has been made public via the Commission of Inquiry. I have no evidence. I have nothing at all other than what we've heard. And so because there is a process that is currently taking place, and in which lawyers are now involved to the extent that this Commission of Inquiry really will, you know, hopefully reveal everything. Let me just make it clear that everything I am stating is my opinion. Based off of the account of Mr. Christopher Boudram, whom I too showed, you know, my heart really goes out to him. My heart goes out to the families of all the victims. But, you know, seeing him sit there breaking down, having to relive his experience, relive this tragedy, it truly is heartbreaking. And, you know, we are questioning, why is it that lawyers are having to do this, question him and put him through this, why he has to live it again? But this is precisely what a commission of inquiry requires. You know, and LMCS, the company of which the divers were employed with, they will have their attorneys arguing for their defense. You would have Paria arguing on their behalf, and that's simply what it has become. So, as much as it's heartbreaking, it's also understandable. The lawyers are simply doing their jobs. They're just doing their jobs because it's reached this stage.
Well, one of the claims is that they want to say Mr. Boudram said that the others did not survive, and he's saying, well, no, I didn't say that. My only other thing to add is that I remember in the press, and I can't remember if it was the following morning, because obviously the papers of the day of the accident would not include this. But I think it was some of the earliest stories included the fact that Mr. Boudram did say to the divers that helped him out of the pipe that your brother-in-law is right behind me. So
yes, and I to recall that, Sean, because this is, you know, following the accident. From what we heard, if we were to go back to the archives of the Daily Press, when Mr. Boudram made it out the pipe, all the details with respect to him saying that he's coming back for them and we're all in the same, all that was not revealed as yet. But we do know that the other divers who made it to the, you know, tragedy site, the accident site at the time, and were actually able to pull Mr. Boudram out of the water, they said that they were going back into the water to the actual site to try and get the other divers, because Mr. Boudram told them that the divers were still in there. Now, when he said still in there, whether or not we believe that for them to mean that they were still alive, or the mere fact is he said that they were still in there. And now that the audio tape has been played of the final moments, and at the point when the accident happened, and the moments as it happened, right after it happened, we've learned that they were indeed still alive. So we learned that one individual had a broken leg. Mr. Boudram indicated that he had to crawl through the pipe. His eyes, his face, they were all burning because of the gas, and then from the oil. And then there was also the mere fact that he said there was about 6 inches of air between his nose and the pipe that allowed him to breathe. But from all accounts thus far, at least from the day after the accident happened, and to what Mr. Boudram is stating now, the story has been and continues to be that Mr. Boudram informed those who rescued him, who pulled him out of the water, and informed those at the site at the time that the divers were still there.
And so I could see a world where human error caused misinformation, inaccurate information to reach the authorities. My question is, and these are the questions that need to be answered. So to start off with that one, was it because the Coast Guard divers and the Eastern divers, which is referenced in The Guardian has text messages from officials in Paria published, and they mentioned Eastern divers. I believe that's one of the diving groups that was there, potentially to carry out a rescue. Did they stand down? Did they say we're not going in because they got inaccurate information on the conditions, potentially including that they got inaccurate information that all of the divers were presumed to be dead or were reported to be dead by the current survivor? The other thing is this. Let's say that LMCS is at fault in some way or fashion. They can't hire themselves. So I want to know, are we going to get any scrutiny with regards to the process? If you want to tell me, because that seems to be Paria's only defense, that it was the contractor's fault. That's nice. Shouldn't we follow that up with who signed off on them? Who signed off on this job? How was this job approved? And according to some documentation, which I believe might be from LMCS's side, removing the plug was part of the job. Paria claims differently. So these things all need to be investigated. And then also, why is Paria not prepared to do a rescue? Because I don't accept the argument that if everybody does their job correctly, there would be no accident. We have fire service at the airport for a reason. We've never had an aircraft incident, right? Equipment failure could happen even if you do your job perfectly. Accidents could happen.
Sean, I honestly think, let's try and be fair for a moment. Because whilst we are critical of Paria and their arguments, we're also critical of the actions undertaken on the day of the tragedy. There also should be scrutiny of LMCS.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Let's be fair. There needs to be scrutiny of LMCS. This is the only way that we are going to get details that will reveal, hopefully, maybe not the full extent of the truth, but hopefully the closest thing to the truth. There needs to be scrutiny of LMCS as well. At this point in time, this is what I'm saying. Whilst we may be critical, we are in no position, nor are we any authority to point fingers or lay blame to anyone.
I think that was what I failed to say properly. Everything needs to be scrutinized. Everything.
Now,
nothing could be assumed and left untouched. No stone, has to be left unturned.
Now, Gilbert Peterson, senior counsel, he was questioning Boudram, and Boudram said Delta P, and I'm now looking at the transcript here. Delta P was not one of the potential risks flagged during a toolbox meeting which detailed the work to be undertaken. Delta P, or differential pressure, is the difference in pressure between any 2 points in an open or closed system that can result in a fluid flow, creating a hazard for the diver. The second point that you raised, Boudram explained that the removal of the inflatable and mechanical plugs, though not listed in the permit to work document, had to be done to facilitate the removal and installation of a riser. He maintained that proper practice was followed. Now, this is the thing where we can only judge and speak of what has been stated so far by the Commission of Inquiry and via what facts or evidence has been revealed to the public. My question is, even though he's argued that the removal of the inflatable and mechanical plugs was not on the permit to work document, he said it had to be done in order to install a riser, right? The thing is, would it have been better? Because don't get me wrong, time is money, a job has to be done. But would it have been in best practice for the divers if they realize, hold on, this is not part of the plan, this is not part of the work permit, we need to go back to find out whether or not this should have been done or we could do it?
Well, so just about, and I want to make it clear, I'm not advocating for any conclusions with regards to theories. This is definitely the case, right? For all we know, Parry is correct and they did everything reasonable, except I will maintain I haven't heard anything about why there was a lack of rescue to give me a theory that I could accept. As the cause of it, first of all, yes, I could see where, because I have been told, so I've had these conversations where LMCS might not have had full qualifications for certain things with regards to diving, right? So maybe for whatever reason, they didn't have the experience to know this could happen in this situation, or to make sure that the safeguards to prevent it, because assuming that there's only two ends to this pipe, the one out at sea and the one in the facility on land, then in theory, basic physics says you could block the other end, and that will more or less maintain the pressure in the pipe. If both ends are unblocked, then you know that the air will go out the other end, and the water will come in on their end and suck them in. So I could see a world where they didn't have the experience to know to ask those questions. Well, if we remove this plug, what's going to stop it from coming in, right? Now the question is again, who picked them for the job? Why did they accept the job? All of these things, all of these practices. How many companies operate like this? How bad is it? How fine is it? All of these things need to be scrutinized. LMCS does need to be scrutinized. But I do think, though, especially with the cause of the accident, there are a lot of things, and this goes back to the OSHA report where it says that both sides had blame, but I didn't read it, so I don't know what the details are, if it gives enough details. Everything from both parties needs to be scrutinized because we need the absolute truth, because again, how do we prevent this? It's not just, and also the fact that yes, 4 men lost their lives, and I don't want to assume why they died. Right? I don't want to assume, well, it's all Parry's fault and that's why they died. That's not fair to the men who died. So we need to understand exactly what happened. We might not like the truth, and the truth might be complex and have a lot of factors, some of which we might not like, some of which we might like. But it is what it is. We have to go down that path. Because, again, I've been told, and I don't know how true this is, I haven't verified it myself, this might have happened before. The difference between that time and this time is somebody survived. So now we have a little bit more knowledge about what exactly happened and how it happened.
Well, listen, I think when the Commission of Inquiry reaches to the stage of where more information and details are revealed about the rescue efforts or the lack of rescue efforts, which then turned into a recovery effort, well, I think at that point in time, Sean, we will have a lot more to speak about. But at this point, I don't have any more comments to make. as I said, PARA has to be scrutinized, and PARA, they have a lawyer that is arguing for their defense. LMCS has to be scrutinized. They too will have a lawyer arguing for their defense. I'm truly sorry that Mr. Christopher Boudram has to go through this once more. You know, I could imagine what he is feeling, although we will never truly understand to the extent. I don't want to say guilt. I don't want to use the word guilt that he's feeling, but certainly
it's survivor's guilt, Keaton. You could do everything right and you could do everything reasonable, and you will still feel no, because he said it himself.
I know he said himself.
He said it himself that he failed because he made promises that ultimately he couldn't keep. He was in no physical condition to go back down in that pipe to pull them out.
This is the thing, and that's precisely it. You see, survivor's guilt, okay, fine. And the reason why I don't want to use the word guilt is because I don't want Mr.
The connotation.
Yeah, I don't want him to necessarily feel that he is responsible for, you know, the lack of rescue efforts, put it that way. You know, but seriously, all in all, really, the mere fact that he has to recount this and the families have to go through this again, I really hope that at the end of this all, whatever the outcome may be, these families will never ever rest comfortably.
No.
They will never ever feel that peace. But I hope that there is some, in whatever form or fashion it may be, some level of satisfaction following this commission of inquiry.
I hate to say this, but something tells me that nobody's going to be satisfied following this commission of inquiry. And when I say nobody, I mean not just the public, but even government officials, PARA officials. I'm not sure if anybody's going to be satisfied, to be honest. I just hope we could get some kind of resolution, because heavens forbid documentation goes missing. It won't be the first time, and it's not limited to TNT where that happens. As for Mr. Boudram, the family of the deceased, they are going through something similar, but he's going through something very unique, being the only survivor. And I think some consideration to his mental well-being needs to be given, even though we have to try to seek the truth. And I hope he gets whatever help he needs, because that is a different ordeal when you have gone through something alone.
Not some consideration. His mental health and well-being from the time the accident happened till now is critical and crucial. And I agree.
Even beyond this year, next year, this if not treated properly, this could haunt him for the rest of his life, because he has nobody that went through exactly what he went through to share with. They all perished, and it's hard to not feel responsible no matter how the circumstances play out, because he was there with them, and he's going to feel the fact that, what if I did something different? What else could I have done differently? That's going to play on his mind, despite the fact that at the end of it he was exhausted and he's more or less at the end of his rope there, and he was lucky just to survive himself. So that's why, again, when you think about it through that lens, about what those 4 deceased went through and what he went through, the bigger picture, it horrifies me to think of the potential of this happening again. It horrifies me. We can't turn back the clock, but I believe it was preventable, which means that future incidents are preventable, hopefully. Okay, we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll have a short segment. Obviously, the injunction failed with regards to the local government, the internal election with the PNM. So we'll give some commentary on that when we return on Talking Point on your content capital, WESN.
Your Christmas is safe with us at BCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at BCU. Police Credit Union. BCU. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
Whether it's your family meet and eat or your own personal getaway retreat, a business trip accommodation or a couple's celebration, the Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa has room for you. There's always sumptuous, delicious cuisine and the gym and tennis court for a good workout routine. Then relax by the pool or on the private beach, or just head to the spa. It's also within reach. The Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, Tobago's best beach resort. For reservations, call 639-8571 or check our website.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former Mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the Home Store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue, St. Anne's, WESN 30A Gattaca Street, Woodbrook, Metropolitan Bookshop, Ariapita Avenue, Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People.
The best birthday gifts are at dbesttoys.com. Shop for the best brands you love at the best prices. Like VTech, Leapfrog, Fisher-Price, Play-Doh, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Cocomelon, LOL, Baby Alive, Crayola. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 32DBEST to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Make every occasion a sparkling celebration with Rosabella alcohol-free wine.
Toast cheers with hourglass rays. Rosabella, live life with Rosabella sparkling drink. Celebrate!
Inspire, motivate, encourage, hope. It's about topical issues. It's about everything that you would want to know about hope, about life. At the end, you're going to say, yes, if he can do it, I can do it too. If she can, I can do it too.
No matter what they say, living in victory every day.
Nicole Lawson Live, living in victory every day. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on WESN.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, yes, the Commission of Inquiry is going on. It only took, I can't remember how many, over 6 months, over half a year just to get it started, which, ironically, we were originally concerned that's how long it would take to finish, and that would have been too long. But, hey, it's happening. We're thankful that it's happening. Other things are going on in the country and around the world. Of course, the World Cup is happening, and there have been some interesting games, but to be honest, I mean, Keaton is happy, but my interest is somewhat waning. I already, and I guess all of this is hitting me because of the situation with the circumstances of the construction of those stadiums and the people that died to build it. But let me not put it down on everything.
Sean, before you put it down on everything, which...
Yeah, I guess it's too late, right? I guess it's too late.
I am challenging you to watch one full half of football, which includes extra time, right? So one full half of football, of a football game, which includes extra time. I'm challenging
I
you
can
to
watch a half of a football game. That's one of the beautiful things about football is that it's not as long as an NFL game, and there's a constant flow and there is tension because if you look away, you might miss something extraordinary and beautiful. But let's leave that alone. Of course, there is a very recent article in one of the daily papers, breaking news. They found what might be a human head on a walkover near Maloney, which is just one more gruesome murder in a year of gruesome murders. But one thing that I do want to get to, of course, is that yesterday, after Talking Point, so we could not get her comment on the situation, basically an injunction filed to delay the internal elections of the PNM. That more or less was denied by the court. The judge said that there's no evidence of wrongdoing here. And I do wonder, Keaton, is it because, well, it's an unprecedented situation? So you don't even have precedents to say, well, look what happened in case X or case Y, particularly locally. I believe it's unprecedented. So it's kind of hard to fault the judge because he said, well, there's no evidence. It's just you're making claims. And it's, do we want our judges to rule on claims without hard evidence? You know, but no. I mean, I see where Karen and her team are coming from, and ruling against it after the fact is too late. That's the thing. We will get the evidence after it happens, and then will the court be able to reverse it if there's evidence of wrongdoing? But there's no evidence of wrongdoing now. So what do we do?
We don't want any judge at all to rule based off of claims. You always need evidence and hard facts, and we cannot allow a court or a system, which essentially turns into a tribunal if that's the case. What's the point of a court if this is going to be the case where there is no evidence? On the part of Karen and on the part of a team that comprises of Mr. Bishop and Dr. Ken Butcher, you know, I hope they accept the ruling, because the thing is, as much as I understand where they were coming from as well, in which ideally you wouldn't want any election to be held on 3 separate days. If it was 3 consecutive days, there would have been probably a greater level of acceptance. But 3 separate days, you know, you don't really, you know, I understand where they're coming from. It's not ideal. But according to Justice Devendra Ramprasad, there was a lack of evidence, and I cannot rule on that. I cannot rule just based off of claims and concerns. I respect that. I understand that. And it's not because there's a lack of precedence. Nothing has been, you know, set before this. You're also arguing that, listen, Russell Martino, senior counsel, who argued on behalf of the PNM, said, you know, look at the time they brought forward this claim just weeks before the election is due to be held, where the elections have been called since August, you know, which is another fair point, you know, and any lawyer will argue that point as well. Please excuse me. But also you said that it's too late after the election. That's when there's you know, evidence. It's too late then. It's not too late then. If there is evidence of any form or fashion of illegally disrupting election, be it through voter fraud, through rigging, through insecure ballot boxes, whatever may be the case, if there is evidence to suggest that, then Karen Yunus Teixeira and her slate can also file another lawsuit, can bring forward the evidence, and then a judge can actually declare those elections null and void. Well, the elections will have to be repeated.
You realize the catch-22 in that one of the slates going up basically is also comprising the members of those who oversee the situation. And, you know, and I always say this, they could do everything right, and they could do everything ethically, and they could do everything objectively, and it could be the truth, and they could give us the entire truth. It's hard to have the perception or to deny the perception from some people, particularly the ones who might be disgruntled with the results, that funny business went on, which is why you always leave it to a third party to eliminate those accusations. They're not doing that. I honestly feel not preventing the perception is what I'm critical of them for. I'm not saying that there's going to be any funny business going on. Not preventing it, I think, to me, and I'm very big on that. I'm very big on, listen, transparency is not just to prove that, it's not just to be ethical. Transparency is to prove that you are. Forget the question of if you are or you're not. You know, it is better to give people something to say, listen, it is without a shadow of a doubt that I am doing everything above board. You can't fault me for nothing. But with regards to the lack of precedent, I would imagine that Karen's team, the lawyers representing her team's point of view, would have used the practices of the EBC as their example. At least this is my layman's understanding of court arguments. They would use that to say, well, look, this is how the EBC does it. Why is it so different here? And I think, unfortunately, precedent would have given us indicators on how the future might look, but they don't even have that because the situation is so unprecedented. And I won't be surprised that you're just like, look, I can't go and make a determination with literally just speculation. Yes, you know, what we think might happen might be reasonable. We don't even know if it's likely or unlikely because we just don't know because the situation is so new. And I do think most judges will be conservative when confronted with that situation because you don't have, you know, you're making a judgment. If you go with it, you're just making a judgment on claims and you don't even have any history to back it up. Okay, we have to go to the news. I guess that's more or less all we could say about that until Karen comes in next week. And hopefully, you know, maybe there's stuff that we're missing that she might be able to let us in on, stuff that we might not know. But that I think Keaton and I more or less agree for the most part on this. And it is what it is, and let's see what happens moving forward. But folks, we have to break for news here on Talking Point. Keaton Shaw, Sean Michael Small. We will be back after the news break to hear what you, the viewer, have to say. Of course, you don't have to limit it to Paria. We could talk about other things as well. You don't have to limit it to the Indian elections either. Disagree with us? Call in. But of course, if you disagree with us, be prepared to have a little debate on air. But stay tuned to Talking Point. We'll be back after this.
Your WESN News on the Hour. I am Marquise Akers. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Sangre Grande Regional Corporation distributes sandbags. Attorney calls on public to be mindful of speculating on Commission of Inquiry. TT referee makes World Cup debut on Friday. And internationally, protests erupt at iPhone factory. Now for the details. The Sangre Grande Regional Corporation Disaster Management Unit's sandbag distribution is ongoing. The office is advising that sandbags are available for collection at the office at Truro Road, Sangre Grande. Sand is also pre-positioned at several locations in the Sangre Grande region. This week thus far, several areas including Manzanilla experienced severe flooding and land slippage, which resulted in the roadway being partially impassable. Attorney at Law Martin George is pleading with the public, including the media, to not become lost in the coverage of the Paria Commission of Inquiry, so the issue at hand will not be lost.
The blame game that it is playing out as in the national media, it does no good, certainly for the families of the victims. It does no good for, you know, the public perception of how this is like two titans, you know, slugging it out. And it appears that, you know, in all of this, the persons who are the true victims are being sidelined in the sense that, you know, you ask yourself, what is the purpose of, you know, this public showdown?
In some sports news now, Trinidad and Tobago's Caleb Wales will be involved in his first World Cup 2022 match as assistant referee. The match between the Wales and Iran is scheduled to take place at 6 a.m. Trinidad and Tobago time on Friday. In international news, protests have erupted at the world's biggest iPhone factory in the Chinese city of Zhangzhou, according to footage circulated widely online. Videos shows hundreds of workers marching, with some confronted by people in hazmat suits and riot police. Those live streaming the protests said workers were beaten by police. Video also showed clashes. Manufacturer Foxconn said it would work with staff and local government to prevent further violence. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I am Marquise Akers. Thanks for watching.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com. Welcome back to Talking About, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, now is the time where we open up the phone lines. We want to hear from you, the viewers, Keaton and I. What do you have to say? Of course, the big story of the day is finally we have the Commission of Inquiry. Finally, we are getting some sort of answers for what is a national tragedy. But there are other important issues. Call in, tell us what you have to think. Tell us what you think, tell us what you have to say. Do you agree, disagree? I could hear the phone lines already. Of course, there's some other things that we could have talked about. I think at some point we do need to give a little bit of attention to what's going on in Iran. I mean, we're not there yet. We're not as bad as that, however bad you might think it is. And that's something, I guess, to be thankful for. But we have a lot of issues at home that we need to solve. And having the discussions and having them publicly, I think, is one of the ways to start the ball rolling. So call in. Let us hear from you. I'm hearing the phone ringing, but I'm not sure if the phone calls are coming in just yet.
Are you sure it's our phone that's ringing?
That is true. That is true. So while we have this lull, I don't know why people don't wait until last minute to call, because then, okay, we have a caller, Guayari. Oh, I think a first-time caller, if I'm correct. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, you're live.
I just want to tell you something. The Eastern Divers crew that come down to Paria was land rescue. They was prepared for water rescue. You can look up on the people that respond, and it might be amazing to find out the integrity of the response personnel that come to Paria for such an event. Have a nice day, gentlemen.
Thank you, caller. I mean, again, I've spoken to some people off air. The caller was willing to say it himself on air. We're not asking him to identify himself. Hopefully, all of those things, because again, everything needs to be scrutinized. I believe the Coast Guard is being scrutinized, or at least questioned. All of the divers present, all of the people on that site that had any sort of professional function need to be scrutinized. We have a caller on the line from Santa Cruz. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Sean.
this barrier situation, listening to Mr. Boudram speak is so harrowing because you do get to relive everything that has gone through. To that, yes, invest to go on among.
Caller, you're breaking up. I don't know if you're.
Sorry?
You're breaking up a bit, so we're not fully understanding what it is you're trying to say.
Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm just saying that, yes, this gentleman, Chris Boudram, is experiencing, reliving this situation.
Mm-hmm.
But what has come to me is that he must have survived for a reason. And while we look at the fact that, oh my God, he's going to be going through this trauma, we can look at it, I hope he takes this experience as there must have been a reason that you survived. Because this may have happened before. If it hasn't happened before, your survival makes you the perfect advocate to make sure that something like this never happens again.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Trinidad and Tobago, what my observation has been over the past year is that it seems as though it's easier for the medical profession, and I'm using the medical profession because this has been my experience, to allow you to die rather than let's fight to save this life, especially if you're elder. Okay? If you're old, well, just know, so we don't have to really try to do nothing to keep you alive. We have this irreverence for life. It seems like people to be rescued. Oh gosh, nobody want to. You go dead if you're going. You know, strange irreverence for life that I have noticed, and I really hope it stops. Mr. Boudram, I feel we do because I am an empathy.
All right.
Your life has been spared for a reason. Don't waste that reason. Open your mouth, fight. Because, as I said before, we don't know if... But you have now given us an opportunity to make sure that nothing like this ever happens. If it means people need to clean up their act, then that's what you have to do. Clean up your act in all areas.
All right. Thank you, caller. Thank you. We do have another caller waiting on the line from Diego Martin. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I just want to make a quick comment concerning the Paria situation. I think everybody is talking and saying things that, you know, even the King's Council and everybody else questioning the guy and asking him certain things. But a lot of the question has to be answered by one of the persons who have died. That is Mr. Ali Jr. He was the one who gave a lot of the instructions from the method of what they had to do and the toolbox meeting. So that is going to be thrown out the window because of the fact of that. As far as everybody, I think people should understand, this is not a cat or dog or something died. It's for men, for human beings. And you have to have the compassion in this thing. You cannot just study about who is right and who is wrong and whatever it is. In my opinion, I am not a lawyer, I am near close to that. But the fact remains, I think there is negligence on both sides. And even eventually come down to a little more serious than that on another side. And because the people who did not get the instruction to go into there just can't help save them. They did not do the right thing. Whether what are the experts here or not, this is humanized. This is not, as I say, any animal or anything that you could say about the story and what I said, but it's humanized, living, breathing human beings. And that sort of compassion has to override any kind of law that they have, in my opinion. And the mere fact, you could have used that fact that the gentleman was dead if there was not any survivor. But there was a survivor. And that survivor lived to give you testimony. But there were men that there was still alive. And the death certificate shows clearly that men were there that, hours after and were still alive the next day and all of this. So what they're trying to pursue is just, right and wrong for the dollar's sake. And that is not correct. Human beings are at stake here, and lives and families who are left distraught and don't know where their future will go from here. So, gentlemen, thank you for taking my call and have a good morning, and be careful outside here. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. You too.
Thank you, caller. All the best.
We have any more calls? All right, folks, you could call in. The phone lines are open. Is our takes wrong? Is there something that we said you don't like? Call in and let us know. But also, is there anything else you want to get highlighted today? We're already at Thursday. We're almost to the end of the week. Other things are happening in the country, and it's not that we don't want to speak about them. It's just that this is, at least to me, the most important thing right now. And in the long run, I just hope that it doesn't suffer the same fate as a lot of important issues on the news cycle.
I think also showing that call from Guayabari when he called in, it just clicked in my mind. Due to the inclement weather and due to the flooding and road conditions, I think PTC has actually cancelled all buses that exit Sangirandi en route to Guayabari. So public transportation, of course, is also being affected by the inclement weather. And there's a lot to talk about with respect to that because where's Minister for Works and Transport? Is he missing?
This is what's frustrating, and what I hope doesn't happen in this case. We keep talking about things about flooding, and do we really see actual tangible results? I would say no. We have a call on the line from Arima. Good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
Early days still, right? But I would like to know if the people who made the decision not to sanction the rescue, when the gentleman told them that people in there were alive, if they will be taking the stand. The people who supposed to decompress him when he came out of the water because he ended up in the hospital for days with oil on him, would they be taking the stand? Because as far as I get to understand, some of them don't want to take the stand, and there's nothing in the law that is preventing them from taking the stand. That is for that. But on the other side now, when I watch how this country going with the weather, the flooding, Mr. Warner, who I call a patriot months ago, and all of disagree with me, I get to realize that this get them government blind. Because we can't look at an area where we see in progress. Every month we can get water. And I understand why, because the intakes clog. But when they do put it on, they're putting it on where the front of the village would get, but the back of the village ain't getting none. And if water didn't meter out the place, they would have known who have illegal connection, who have legal connection, how much water you get, and you'd have paid. But when you base it on people's property value, if they get, they get. This direction this country heading in, I'm not seeing no sort of economic development at all. Just how this man tell you what, bicycle and coal pot.
Yep.
Well, people had to catch rainwater.
Basically.
Some people do.
Gentlemen, thanks for
Have a good day,
this morning.
Thank you, caller.
A couple of things. First of all, you're absolutely right. It would be interesting. I would like those individuals to take a stand. They're very much integral to this commission of inquiry to find out exactly what happened.
And I would just like also to say this. I think our ability to carry out rescues in complex situations, I'm not talking somebody is out at sea and a Coast Guard needs to go in the water to save him. I'm talking industrial accidents, offshore diving accidents, factory accidents, because we had the Nikwan plant explosion, right? What if we just happen to have a random earthquake and a building in town gets damaged and partially or completely collapses? What do we do then? Because in some of these situations, response times will mean the difference between life and death. But we have a caller from Chagonas. Good morning, caller.
Continue afterwards. Good morning, caller.
Morning, you're live. You're on here. Oh gosh, I think I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's our connection. I guess you're cutting off, similar to our caller from Santa Cruz. Yeah, in and out. I don't know if but go, continue, and let's hopefully we could okay. Yeah, he was coming in and out.
But also, caller from Arima. I can't remember the exact reasons why no, and forgive me. I don't think we disagreed with you when you called Jack Warner patriots. I think we were arguing against your reasonings for calling him patriots. I'm not disagreeing with you, but you had given a list as to why it is that you believe he was a patriot, and I think we were making arguments against that. But also, I'm not sure what's going on with the Water and Sewage Authority, because you're supposed to have a water schedule. You're supposed to have set days in which your water supply is limited. We're no longer on a schedule. We get water when WASA feels like giving us water.
Well, we have on a schedule.
I said that, and apparently some people said we were on a schedule because, you could be guaranteed on a Thursday you wouldn't get water, but every day of the week, you might get a restricted supply, but you still have water. Now, WASA is cutting water when they feel like, right? There's no more schedule. It's just when we feel like cutting water. 2, with respect to water pressure, I've said this before, WASA doesn't regulate their pressure. Sometimes you turn on your tap, the pressure is extremely high, and then you turn it on, it's extremely low.
Well,
so they're not monitoring the pressure.
Because people have to have water tanks heated and the tanks are filling up, and if all the tanks are full, then the pressure will be high. If all the tanks are empty, water is going into all of the tanks, it's going to be low.
Still gauge the pressure, because considering the amount of leaks that we have across the country, the water pressure is so high.
Keaton, you're asking too much of the Water and Sewage Authority. They actually have to be efficient. We have a caller from from Tunapuna. Good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning. From Tunapuna.
Yes.
I was checking myself and trying to find out to see if I can identify at least one positive thing that this government has achieved in the last few years. And it was tiring and it was frustrating where I couldn't have identified anything, gentlemen. Now, I am concerned about this indemnity bribery deal. I haven't been hearing anyone talking about it. I don't know if it is willfully done, that everybody wants to hide it under the carpet. But I am concerned. The attitude that brings about that is what we are facing here today. And we must deal with that. We must deal with that from the president, come back right on. And we have to deal with that, gentlemen. We have to deal with that. We know that the murder rate is going to pass 600. But I'm concerned, how much more than 600? As I identified the other day with you all, with these gangs who are responsible mostly. I have information about the name of the gang. I have a lot of information because I seek and I search for information. I don't call a radio station or a TV station because I want to call. I do my research, I have data, and then I come out. Right? So I am there again. I am speaking now also about the police youth club. Because I was hearing up to yesterday that even children at primary school level have information from the youth club to go back to the gangs. So we have to do something about this. This is a serious, serious issue. Right, gentlemen? So I am concerned about the bribery indemnity deal.
Yes.
We have a notorious guy sued this government for over $100 million. I want to know how much millions was spent on him by this government.
Thank you, caller.
And the system they used to spend that money on him. I also want to know that.
Thank you, caller. Thank you, caller.
Thank you very much, caller. Yeah, we too are concerned about the indemnity agreement, caller, but as with a lot of things, it dies a natural death.
Well, so part of it is we don't necessarily want to just literally repeat what we said about the situation, you know, keep repeating ourselves. As much as we don't want things to die, like the Commission of Inquiry, not the Commission, sorry, the Police Service Commission, and what happened there, not even the current commission, the past commission, and how it collapsed and why it collapsed, and we don't have answers to that. Here's the thing though, and I said this yesterday, all of these things come from the same source. When Timothy Hammersmith is here, he would basically say corruption. And okay, corruption might not be the most accurate word. Some of it might be even more serious than just your run-of-the-mill corruption. Some of it might be very, very everyday, low-level stuff. But the concept is more or less the same, right? Some of it could be negligence, some of it could be it slips through the cracks, but the corruption or what allows for it, that allows for all of these things to happen, whether intentionally or unintentionally. These are all consequences of a system that is not operating properly.
With respect to the evidence that you said that you have, well, the information and the research that you have, it's all well and good, but it's what you do with that information now. You know, don't let it sit idly. Be a good citizen and you know, hopefully share that information with those in the relevant authority. And if they don't take you on, then you come to the media and share your information. It's the only way that we're actually going to get some level of clarity now. So it's really, it's all well and good that you have that, but it's what you do with it that's critical. But, you know, as I said, we too are concerned, but like I said, it's died a natural death with anything in the country. I'm sure the opposition is concerned as well, but they've just remained silent on it. Now, with respect to the Water and Sewage Authority, going back there,
quick, we have our final call.
Simple. Their pumps are never working. That's it. Let's go to the next call.
Okay, we have our last call for the morning from Mayaro. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
It's a beautiful day to have a good day. And I want to say, first of all, Keaton, I do hope that you're able to rise above the feelings that you're feeling because you're mentally and physically drained, right? We see that on your program. And as a farmer, I can understand your concern because both of you guys have addressed a lot of issues that keep burning and they never seem to stop. But I just want to draw one point this morning to you guys. While we're suffering from the agricultural sector in global warming and food is a part of the essentials of life, let me just come back to say, you see them tunnels that spend millions of dollars to fix the Manzilina Road? Die for the cascade to spread in the Naira swamp. Because listen to me, the tunnels and the overflow they put is a simple fix. Keaton, you and I could go and take our view and we could go and fix that problem. Because listen to me, the piping that they use from one side of the road to go to flow over in the big Atlantic Ocean, it is clogged. So when you're having a problem like that facing us, it doesn't take 24 hours for the swamp to full. It take days. And if the corporation or whoever in ministry that it fall on, not UNC or PNM, but Russian Paris, I want you to understand something. While you're talking about the road integrity, talk about the solution now, because listen to me, all we need to do is clear up the freaking pipe on the road, over the road in the drain, and the water will flow from the swamp to the ocean. Let me be real now, fellas. Come on, thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you. Thank you.
The caller was referencing very subtly a joke from his last call, which would have been last week when you weren't here, Keaton.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I want to laugh as well, so what's funny?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'll tell you off air. Those who know already know. If Karen actually, she also found it hilarious at the time. Thank you for that caller. That did actually.
What did he say last week?
No, it's just I mixed up the calls. So then he purposefully called me Keaton for the rest of his call last week, and I believe that's what he did with the first time he mentioned your name. He actually was purposefully identifying me. I think the second time he probably was speaking to you. So
I'm sure Michael Small, that's Keaton Shaw. This has been talking about. You remember that?
Let's not go there. Let's go. But thank you, caller, for that. I appreciate the levity during this time. Keaton, we're almost out of time, so I don't know if there's any last words you want to say before we have to go.
Folks, just be careful out there.
Yeah.
Just be, and please try, if we can, live with each other, respect one another, and I hope there's some level of understanding and patience that we can practice. Trinidad and Tobago is a home for many people, not just for one. And, let's try to live in some unity and harmony.
Yeah, I mean, I think, thanks to the caller for saying it. I'm not necessarily, I don't know if Keaton, if you said your line today, if I would really feel it today, similar to yesterday. But what you said just there, even if hope is fleeting right now, at the end of the day, goes back to what Mr. Boudram said, and I think this is going to be something I'm going to say from now until things get better, and that might take years. But I mean, at the end of the day, all are we in this together. So no matter how bad it gets, all of we in this together. So come on, we have to go. And hopefully people wake up to that.
Well, you're using that message.
That applies to everything in this country, Keaton.
As a message of hope now. Anyway, folks.
That applies to everything.
Today is a good day to have a good day. Let's make it a good day. Let's make it a great day. Only we can do it. What? You're saying that we can make it if we try just a little harder. Really, folks, it's a good day to have a good day. But only if we want it to be that way.
Folks, that, of course, is Mr. Keaton Shaw. I'm sure Michael Small. This has been Thursday, the 24th editions of Talking Point. We will see you tomorrow morning, hopefully with some better news. Hey, I almost forgot. Apparently, we got a bronze in our four-man bobsled team in the North American Cup, I think, in Utah yesterday. Regardless, just a little bit of good news in our dark and rainy.
We have a training referee at the World Cup as well, huh?
Yes.
As well. So I mean, listen, there's some good news to go around. Let's celebrate it.
Yeah.
Anyway, folks, that's it for Talking Point. Thank you very much. And should all go well, Sean and I will see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
WESN